Chapter 10. Heading for a Fall. Marvin saw the sun coming up, but he didn't feel like getting up with it. It was a rough night. He had needed a good night's sleep, and he didn't get one. What he really needed now was water. He was very thirsty. He got himself up and got himself going. Before long he came to a stream, and he went on into it and drank from it while he floated. He was still drinking with the flow when the stream turned into a river that had mangrove trees on either side. Marvin was afraid of jungly rivers like this one, but there was a more compelling reason for him to get out. A sign strung across the river said, "Oh my gosh, falls ahead." He paddled to get out, but his legs felt so heavy. His energy level was on E for empty, and he didn't seem to be getting anywhere except closer to the fall. "Oh my gosh, falls, 250 yards, said a sign. A crowd of animals lined the banks of the river to watch the action, and one of them happened to have a camcorder. Willivanna Broadcasting Company had been contacted, and a WBC team was now on its way to cover Duck in Crisis. Marvin tried to make himself go, 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 but the only way he was going was slow, slow, slow. For every foot closer he got to the riverbank, he was getting swept 30 feet closer to the fall. A seagull flew above Marvin and tried to give him a helpful pull, but the river was flowing too fast and Marvin was twisting and turning too much. "Oh my gosh, falls, 100 yards, said a sign. Marvin started rowing with his wings, but his wings didn't have any more energy than his legs had. "It's all Cool Regis's fault," he said as he battled the river. "Oh my gosh, falls, 50 yards, said a sign. Spectators were rooting for the underduck and cheering for him to fight harder. Marvin didn't hear them cheering. He was too focused on what he was seeing. What he saw was the branch of a mangrove tree, sticking out above the water just a few feet from the fall. He was 10 long feet from the side of the river when he was 20 short yards from the fall, and he kept his focus on the branch. He paddled with all his might to get as close as he could to it, and then he lunged for it and grabbed hold of it with both wings. The crowd cheered wildly, but then became alarmed. The branch bent from Marvin's weight, and the current carried him above the fall. "Oh my gosh!" the spectators exclaimed. An elephant, Puffy McTrunk, moved into position and stretched out his trunk. He grabbed Marvin as the branch broke and pulled him in. "Thanks for saving my life," Marvin told Puffy while they were being mobbed. "Don't mention it," replied Puffy. "But WBC just showed up, so brace yourself for sensationalism and your 15 minutes of fame." WBC reporter Estelle Gazelle pushed her way in to interview Marvin Mallard. "Please tell our viewers your name." "Marvin Mallard." "A marvelous lunge, Marvin." "Thank you." "We've just been handed a video by a spectator who shot the action with a camcorder, and we're going to show our viewers the lunge. There it is. Not pretty, but effective. Marvin, this had to be the biggest lunge of your life." "No question about it." "Let's go back to the videotape and show the desperation lunge again, this time in slow motion. You can see that it was a 2-winged lunge. And now you can see the branch bending and Marvin suspended above the fall. And just look at the extension of Puffy McTrunk's trunk. We're going to bring in Puffy to talk about the amazing rescue he made with spectacular trunk extension right after we take a break for a word from our sponsors. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Marvin Mallard and Puffy McTrunk." The commercial break had spots for a perfume for skunks, an energy bar for orangutans, a weight loss program for pigs, and a wart medication for warthogs. During the break, the WBC staff went to work on Estelle Gazelle's hair and makeup. When they turned their attention back to Marvin Mallard, he was gone. Chapter 11. Into the Blue. Several animals saw Marvin leave. Only one animal followed him, a kangaroo. "Nice lunge," she said upon coming alongside him. "Thanks. I couldn't help noticing that you've got the Magic Medallion." Marvin stopped and looked at her. He remembered what the antelope with the rose-colored glasses told him, and he knew whom he was talking to. He took the medallion out from under his wing. "You're the kangaroo who gave this to the antelope, aren't you?" "Yes. Did it work for him?" "No, he said he couldn't get a pure heart, so he threw it into Crazy Lake." "Oh, that's too bad. Is it working for you?" "Yes." Congratulations! You're on your way to getting wised up. How long will it take? I don't know, but don't give up. It's the end result that's important, not the time that it takes. And it might take some hard work. That's what getting wised up meant for me. I always wanted to take the easy way out, and I didn't want to wait. I wanted things now. I finally got wised up when I realized that hard work and patience really are virtues. Everybody has their own problems to get wised up about. In case the antelope didn't tell you, when you do get wised up, the medallion will shine a bright blue, and I mean bright. Then it will be time to pass it on. I have to give it back to the giant octopus Octavian Reddy. I promised them that I would. I hope that it works for him. Goodbye. Goodbye. Marvin tucked the medallion back into his wing pit and moved on. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew that he was getting closer to making the magic medallion shine blue. He couldn't help thinking about the antelope with the rose-colored glasses, how he was his own worst enemy for not dealing with reality, how important it is to see things as they really are. He got lost in thought and wasn't camouflaging himself as well as he usually did. A wolf saw him and moved in for the kill, but stopped. How strange, Bigabod Wolf thought, for a duck to be walking around in these parts. Never before in Bigabod's big, bad life had he seen this, and he couldn't help wondering if this duck was crazy. Bigabod had nothing against eating crazy ducks, unless the craziness was a result of mad duck disease. He crept closer to get a better look, and heard the duck mumbling about the importance of seeing yourself as you really are. Mad duck disease for sure, Bigabod said, and backed away. What am I missing? What do I need to understand? Marvin asked himself. Before he knew it, he was in an open field with no camouflage. When he saw that his standpoint was a sitting duck point, he looked for the quickest way to get to cover. But an eerie silence made him freeze. A big shadow came over him. He didn't have to look up. He knew what it was. The huge wingspan was a dead giveaway. An eagle landed in front of him with his wings spread wide open. "Any last words?" said Slick Swoopdown. "Please don't eat me," Marvin pleaded. "I'm not going to." "Oh, good." "My sister Sloopy is." "Oh, bad." "What do you mean by that? Listen, I won't stand for insensitive remarks about my sister Sloopy. She's visually impaired." "I'm sorry to hear that. I don't want any sympathy from you. What do you know about physical disabilities?" "I'm flying impaired." "A flying impaired duck? How have you survived this long?" "I guess I've been lucky." "Well, I think that your luck has just run out." Marvin threw up his wings. The medallion swung down in front of him. "It's all Cool Regis's fault," he was about to say, but stopped himself. He realized that it was not all Cool Regis's fault, or even mostly Cool Regis's fault, or even partially Cool Regis's fault. Marvin realized that it was all his fault. He saw that he alone was responsible for his actions. All of a sudden, the medallion shined blue, a blue so bright that he and Slick were covered in blue light. "Wow," they said after recovering from the initial awe. There they stood, blue-struck. There they continued to stand, until the blue light faded. "Wow," they said again after the blueness was gone and they were back in natural light. Slick backed away, scared of the medallion. He was all set to fly away when Marvin stopped him. "Don't go. I've got an idea. Your sister is afraid to fly because she can't see, right?" "Right. But if I were on her back, I could guide her." "Yes, so she could use you as a seeing-eyed duck." "No, I'm not going to let myself get used any more." "Surely you're not suggesting that she let herself be your flying wing eagle?" "No, I'm talking about helping, not using. She can help me, and I can help her. We can help each other." Slick put the tip of his right wing to his beak and gave it some thought. Finally he said, "Well, I can't speak for Sloopy, but I think she might like the idea. Hop on. I'll take you to her." Chapter 12. Sky High. In her treetop house, Sloopy Swoopdown was sitting uneasily in her easy chair, twiddling her talons. Her brother was late bringing back something to eat, and she didn't like having to wait for dinner. "It's about time," she said when her brother came home. Hearing Webb's footsteps behind him, she said, "Slick, who's that with you? It sounds like a duck." "It is, and he's got a proposal." "I want duck au l'orange, not duck a la proposal." "Hear him out, Sloopy. Tell Sloopy what your proposal is, Duck." Marvin stepped forward. "My name is Marvin Mallard. I'm flying-impaired. My proposal is that I ride on your back and navigate you. That way we both can fly wherever we want to go." "Why should I make a deal instead of a meal with you?" "Because it would be better for you in the long run. If you accept my proposal, my first flight is going to have to be to Massachusetts. I've got to tell a cow moose named Musil Usme that Hank Musevich can't live without her and that he's willing to take anger management classes if she'll go back to him." Sloopy thought about the proposal and whether she should take it or leave it. She hadn't flown since getting struck by lightning while on her way to visit a friend. Doctors at Willivanna General Hospital had managed to save her life, but they weren't able to save her eyesight, and she had been visually impaired ever since. But now this Mallard was offering her a chance to stop feeling sorry for herself and start turning her life around. She wanted to be as independent as possible and not be a burden on her brother Slick. She wanted to visit her friends again. "You've got yourself a deal, Marvin," she said. "Let's shake wings on it. Now, where did you say you want to go on your first flight?" "Massachusetts. And on my second flight I want to go to Crazy Lake." "All right, partner, hop on. We're going to Massachusetts. After we're finished there, I want to go to Dunkin' Rodent and get some mouse chops. I'm hungry." With Marvin on her back, Sloopy walked out onto her balcony. She felt for her perch and then jumped up onto it. "My wings are a little out of shape," she commented while flapping them, and then she took off and went straight down. "Up, up!" Marvin shouted, but Sloopy went down, down. Flapping her wings furiously, she finally stopped falling. She flew in place for a few seconds, and then she took off and flew up, up, and away. Marvin held on tight as they soared. On Slick he had merely flown up to a treetop, but now on Sloopy he was flying high above the highest treetop. Things on the ground like Crazy Lake and Oh My Gosh Falls were getting smaller and smaller. Marvin had always wondered what it was like to fly high in the sky, and now he knew. It was fantastic. The cold air and the high winds felt great. "How high are we?" Sloopy asked him. "Sky high," Marvin answered. The shocking sight of a duck flying on an eagle caused startling aerial reactions. A pelican dropped its heavy lower jaw and fell into a forward somersault. A straight flying crow started flying crooked, and a bunch of geese broke out of their V formation and made a U-turn. "Marvin, you should be seeing a tower pretty soon. The Tower of Massachusetts," Sloopy said. "I see it now, Sloopy. I'll guide you down there," Marvin replied. Marvin couldn't stop smiling. Things had worked out wonderfully. Back in Forngle, Cool Regis had called him a lucky ducky. Marvin felt that it was true, that he was in fact the luckiest duck in the world. He was looking forward to the future and to filling it with good deeds. He was going to go back to high school and then go on to college and major in camouflage with a minor in physical education. He knew, however, that he had already learned the most important lesson of his life, the lesson he had learned from the Magic Medallion. The end.